The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled under artificial starlight as beings from across the galaxy gathered in worried silence. Floating platforms carried representatives of 47 different worlds, each more alien than the last. Some had scales that shimmered like oil, others possessed multiple eyes that blinked in sequence, and a few existed as pure energy contained within mechanical shells. At the chamber's heart, Ambassador Veldar stood tall on his platform. His reptilian features showed deep concern as he touched a control panel with one clawed finger. The air above the assembly shimmered, and suddenly a holographic image appeared, a small planet colored blue and green, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Fellow council members, Veldar spoke, his words automatically translated into dozens of languages. Today we discuss a matter of extreme importance. This world is called Earth. The creatures living there call themselves humans. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Many had heard whispers about this distant world, but few knew the details. The hologram changed, showing scenes of incredible violence. Humans in metal armor fought with swords and shields. Later images showed them firing primitive guns at each other. Then came pictures of massive explosions, cities reduced to ash, and weapons that could destroy entire regions. We have watched these humans for 300 of their years, Veldar continued, his voice growing darker. What we have seen troubles us deeply. They fight constantly among themselves. They poison the air they breathe and the water they drink. They cut down their forests and kill the animals that share their world. A creature made of living crystal raised one sparkling arm. This was Counselor Earthven, known throughout the galaxy for seeking peaceful solutions. Respected Ambassador, many young species go through violent periods. Perhaps we could help guide them toward wisdom? Veldar's large eyes narrowed. That is what we thought at first, honored Counselor. But observe what happens when these humans face danger. The hologram shifted again. Now it showed humans surviving in frozen wastelands during ice ages that should have killed them. It showed them building new cities after terrible plagues wiped out half their population. It displayed their response to natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions, that left other species helpless. Watch carefully, Veldar said. See how they adapt. The images showed humans learning to make fire in the cold. They invented new medicines to fight diseases. They built stronger buildings that could survive earthquakes. Each time disaster struck, they emerged not just alive, but stronger than before. This is remarkable, whispered a delegate whose body resembled a walking tree. They learn from every hardship. Yes, Veldar replied grimly. But that is exactly what makes them so dangerous. Other species might give up or ask for help. Humans do something different. They turn their suffering into strength. They make weapons from their pain. More images flowed through the hologram. Humans who survived famines invented better ways to grow food. Those who lived through wars created more advanced weapons. Every challenge became a lesson, every defeat a reason to grow stronger. They do not simply overcome problems, Veldar explained. They weaponize their solutions. The medicine they create to heal also becomes poison for their enemies. The technology they build for peace quickly transforms into tools of war. An ambassador with skin like polished metal spoke up. But surely their primitive technology poses no threat to our advanced civilizations. Veldar touched his controls again. The hologram now showed recent human achievements, rockets reaching their moon, satellites circling their world, computers growing smaller and more powerful each year. Their progress accelerates beyond all prediction, he said. What took us thousands of years to develop, they accomplish in mere centuries. At this rate, they will achieve interstellar travel within 50 of their years. Worried sounds filled the chamber as delegates realized the implications. Consider this, Veldar continued. A species that fights constantly will be experienced in warfare. A species that survives by adapting will be unpredictable in battle. A species that learns from every defeat will be impossible to defeat permanently. And a species that weaponizes everything they touch will turn our own technologies against us. The crystal being, Earthven, flickered with uncertain light. Perhaps communication. No. Veldar's voice echoed through the chamber. We have seen what happens when humans encounter something they cannot understand. They study it, they test it, they break it apart to see how it works. Then they rebuild it better than the original creators ever imagined. He gestured toward the hologram, which now showed humans reverse engineering captured enemy weapons during their wars, often improving them in the process. This species represents something we have never encountered before, Veldar declared. They are not just survivors, they are evolutionary accelerators. Every contact with them makes them stronger, smarter, more dangerous. The chamber fell silent as delegates absorbed this information. The choice before us is simple, Velvar concluded. We can act now, while they are still confined to their single world, or we can wait until they spread across the galaxy like a plague of adaptation. The vote began immediately. Platform after platform lit up with decision markers. The result became clear quickly. Only the peaceful collective and 2 small species abstained from the final verdict. The Council Prime, an ancient being of pure thought, spoke the formal words that would seal Earth's fate. By majority vote, the species designated human is hereby classified as Category Crimson, maximum threat level. Immediate containment protocols are authorized. Deep in space, automated defense stations that had slumbered for 1,000 years began to wake up. Ancient weapons charged with deadly energy, all pointed toward a small blue world whose inhabitants had no idea their fate had just been decided. The hunt for humanity was about to begin. Admiral J-Ho Kim stood at the center of the UES Seoul's command bridge, his dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing Earth's pale moon. Around that familiar gray sphere, something impossible was happening. Massive alien ships were appearing out of nowhere, materializing from empty space like ghosts becoming solid. The ships were unlike anything humans had ever imagined. They stretched for kilometers, their hulls gleaming with a dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols glowed along their sides, and weapon ports were already beginning to charge with ominous energy. "Sir, I count 37 vessels," reported Lieutenant Minute-Ho Lee from his tactical station. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly as he worked his controls. "They are positioning themselves in a blockade formation around Earth." Around the bridge, other officers worked quietly at their stations. Everyone understood what they were seeing. This was humanity's first contact with alien life, and those aliens had come here to fight. "Communications are lighting up across all human frequencies," announced Officer Eun-Ji Park, pressing her headset closer to her ear. "Every space station, every ship, every ground control center is trying to reach us." Jae-ho nodded calmly. He had trained for this moment his entire career, though he had never really believed it would come. "Signal all human vessels to maintain current positions and await orders. Tell ground control we have the situation under observation." Before anyone could respond, every screen on the bridge flickered with incoming transmission warnings. "Sir, we're being hailed," Eun-Ji reported. "The signal is coming through on every frequency simultaneously, radio, laser, quantum, even some wavelengths our equipment barely recognizes." "Put it on the main screen," Jae-ho ordered. The bridge's large view screen changed from showing the alien fleet to displaying the image of a creature that stepped right out of humanity's nightmares. The being had reptilian features with scales that shifted color in the light. Its eyes were large and golden, with pupils that contracted to thin slits. Elaborate armor covered its body, decorated with symbols that hurt to look at directly. When the creature spoke, its mouth revealed rows of sharp teeth. But somehow, impossibly, the words came through in perfect Korean. "Primitive humans of Earth," the alien's voice was cold and arrogant. "I am Fleet Commander Morgeth of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. Your species has been observed and judged. You have been classified as a Category Crimson threat to galactic peace and stability." Jae-ho felt his stomach tighten. A threat? Humans barely had ships that could reach their own moon reliably, and these aliens considered them dangerous? "You will power down all defensive systems immediately," Morgeth continued. "You will surrender your leadership for processing and submit to containment protocols. Any resistance will result in the complete annihilation of your species. You have one of your time periods called hours to comply." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Lieutenant Minute-Ho was the first to speak. "Sir, their weapons are definitely charging. Energy readings are off our scales." Jae-Ho looked around at his crew. These were good people, scientists, explorers, dreamers who had joined Earth's small space fleet to push the boundaries of human knowledge. None of them had signed up to fight aliens with weapons beyond their understanding. But as he looked at their faces, he saw something that made him proud. Instead of panic or despair, he saw determination. Eun-Ji was already working to boost their communication systems. Minute-Ho was running tactical analysis on the alien ships. The navigation officer was calculating escape routes, not for running away, but for better fighting positions. "Open a channel," Jae-Ho said quietly. "All frequencies, maximum broadcast range. Make sure every human ship and station can hear this, and make sure our alien friends get the message too." Eun-Ji worked quickly at her station. "Channel open, sir." You're broadcasting to the entire solar system. Jeho stepped forward, placing his hands behind his back in a posture that somehow made him look both calm and dangerous. Fleet Commander Morgeth, he began, his voice carrying clearly across space, I am Admiral Jeho Kim of the United Earth Space Command. I want to thank you for that interesting message. On the alien ship's bridge, visible through the still open communication link, Morgeth's golden eyes narrowed with confusion. You see, Commander, Jeho continued with a slight smile, we've been listening to your Galactic Council's communications for 12 years now. We know all about your little vote. We know how you watched us from the shadows, judging us like specimens in a laboratory. The alien's arrogant expression began to change as the implications of those words sank in. You declared war on us before we even knew you existed, Jeho said, his voice growing harder. You decided to destroy us based on fear and prejudice. Well, Commander Morgeth, on behalf of the human race, I have a simple response to your ultimatum. He paused, looking directly into the alien's golden eyes. We accept. Jeho nodded to Minute-Ho, who pressed a single button on his tactical console. Across the solar system, space itself seemed to ripple. Human ships materialized from nowhere, dozens of them, appearing around and between the alien vessels like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. They had been there all along, hidden by technology that shouldn't have existed, waiting for this exact moment. The alien bridge erupted in chaos as warning alarms began screaming. Morgeth's eyes went wide with shock and something that might have been fear. You see, Commander, Jeho said calmly as human weapons began powering up with their own deadly glow, we humans have learned something important over our long history. The best way to survive a fight is to be better prepared than your enemy thinks possible. The first human plasma cannon fired, its brilliant beam lancing across space toward the nearest alien dreadnought. The battle for Earth had begun, and it was nothing like what the Galactic Council had expected. 6 months had passed since the alien fleet first appeared around Earth's moon, and the galaxy was learning a terrible lesson about underestimating humanity. In the command center of the massive human battleship Titan's Wrath, General Haijin Choi stood before a wall of glowing displays that showed star maps, battle reports, and tactical information from dozens of different star systems. The room hummed with quiet activity as officers from around the world worked together at their stations. Korean voices mixed with English, Spanish, and Mandarin as humanity's combined forces coordinated their response to what the aliens had started. Colonel Kang, status report, Haijin called to her intelligence officer, a sharp-eyed woman who had spent years studying alien communications before the war began. Sujin Kang looked up from her datapad with satisfaction evident on her face. Captain Nam has eliminated the Korthek Dominion's 3rd Fleet at Proxima Station. Enemy casualties were total. Our losses were 3 damaged ships and 12 injured crew members. Haijin nodded approvingly. The numbers told a story that the Galactic Council was struggling to understand. Human forces were not just winning battles, they were winning them with almost impossible efficiency. How did Captain Nam achieve such results? She asked. The same way our other commanders have been succeeding, Sujin replied. The Korthek came expecting to fight primitive humans using basic tactics they observed during our historical conflicts. Instead, Captain Nam used Zephyrian fleet formations that we learned by studying their own battle records. She activated a holographic display showing the battle. He combined those formations with crystallite shield harmonics, technology we reverse-engineered from captured equipment. The Korthek had never seen their enemies use tactics from completely different species. This was the pattern that had been repeated across the galaxy for 6 months. Each alien species had developed their military strategies in isolation, perfecting techniques that worked against their traditional enemies. They had never imagined facing an opponent who could combine the best ideas from every species they had studied. What about the situation in the Centauri system? Haijin asked. Sujin's expression grew even more pleased. Commander Park reports complete success there as well. The Vorthak tried to use their quantum mines, the same weapons they've relied on for centuries. But we had captured several of those devices during earlier battles. She brought up another tactical display. Our engineers reverse-engineered the quantum mines during the battle itself. We turned the Vorthak's own weapons against them within 30 minutes of first contact. The enemy fleet retreated in complete disorder. Haijin allowed herself a small smile. This was what the Galactic Council had failed to understand about humanity. They had seen humans fighting among themselves and assumed it meant weakness and chaos. They had not realized that constant conflict had made humans the most adaptable warriors in the galaxy. Every human war had been a learning experience. Every defeat had taught new lessons. Every enemy had contributed techniques that became part of human military knowledge. When the aliens declared war on Earth, they had not been facing a primitive species, they had been challenging the graduates of the most demanding military academy in the known universe. "General," called Lieutenant Jung from the communication station, his voice excited, "we're receiving surrender requests from 3 more star systems. The Helix Confederation, the Spiral Alliance, and the Outer Rim Collective are all asking for terms." Around the command center, other officers looked up with interest. After months of fierce fighting, word was spreading through the galaxy that resistance to human forces was futile. "Standard response," Hyjin replied calmly. "Offer safe passage to neutral territory for any military forces that surrender. Guarantee protection for all civilian populations. No reprisals against non-combatants." Colonel Kang raised an eyebrow at these generous terms. Our intelligence suggests that many council members still consider us barbaric primitives. They might interpret mercy as a sign of weakness." Hyjin turned to look at the main tactical display, which showed the current positions of human and alien forces across dozens of star systems. Everywhere, the pattern was the same: alien forces in retreat, human forces advancing with careful precision. "Colonel," she said thoughtfully, "the Galactic Council made their first mistake when they judged us based on incomplete information. They saw our conflicts and assumed we were chaotic and undisciplined. They never considered that our ability to fight each other had taught us how to fight anyone." She gestured toward the display showing human ships using adapted alien technologies. "They made their second mistake when they assumed that primitive meant inferior. They never realized that we had been studying them for years, learning their weaknesses, preparing for the day we might meet." Her voice grew firmer. "I will not let them make a third mistake by assuming that our mercy means weakness. We are not here to conquer the galaxy, Colonel. We are here to teach it." Lieutenant Jung looked up from his station again. "General, the surrender requests are asking what our territorial demands will be. They want to know which systems we plan to occupy." "Tell them we have no territorial demands," Hyjin replied. "We want only 2 things, a guarantee that no species will ever again be judged dangerous without first establishing peaceful contact, and an agreement that all species will be treated as equals in any future galactic government." Sujin stared at her commander in surprise. We have the military advantage. We could demand anything we want." Hyjin smiled, but it was not the expression of a conqueror. It was the look of a teacher who had just delivered an important lesson. "That's exactly why we won't, Colonel. The Galactic Council declared war on us because they were afraid of what we might become. Let's show them what we actually are, not the monsters they feared, but the neighbors they should have tried to understand." The war was far from over, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had proven they could fight. Now they would prove they could also forgive. Ambassador Velvar stood among twisted metal and broken dreams, surrounded by the wreckage of what had once been the most feared military installation in the galaxy. The Fortress of Eternal Victory had been the pride of the Galactic Council, a massive space station armed with weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Now it drifted in space like a broken toy, its mighty guns silent forever. But what shocked Velvar most was not the destruction. It was what the humans were doing in the ruins. All around him, teams of workers moved carefully through the damaged corridors. Some were human, wearing their simple blue uniforms and carrying strange scanning devices. But others were aliens, his own people, the reptilian Korthek, working alongside humans as if they had been friends for years. There were also crystallites, beings made of living crystal who sparkled as they moved, and even some Zephyrians with their flowing, plant-like bodies. "This makes no sense," Velvar muttered to himself in his native language. A human voice answered him in perfect Korthek. "What doesn't make sense, Ambassador?" Velvar turned to see Captain Bo-Young Shin, the human officer in charge of this salvage operation. She was a small woman by human standards, but her dark eyes held an intelligence that made Velvar uncomfortable. Like all humans he had met, she seemed to see everything and understand more than she should. "You could have simply destroyed everything," Velvar said, switching to the common galactic language. "You won the battle. This station is yours by right of conquest. Why are you preserving our technology? Why are you working with prisoners of war as if they were your allies?" Bo-Young looked up from a complex device she had been examining. It was a crystallite energy matrix, a piece of technology that had taken her people thousands of years to perfect. Human technicians were carefully taking it apart, studying each component with the focused attention of students learning from a master. "Because destroying knowledge is wasteful," Bo-Young replied simply. Every species in this galaxy has spent thousands of years developing something special. Your people, the Korthek, created the best energy shields we have ever seen. The Zephyrians learned how to grow living computers from modified plants. The Crystallites figured out how to make quantum calculations using the structure of their own bodies. She gestured toward the mixed teams working throughout the station. All of that knowledge is precious. Why would we destroy it just because we disagreed with how it was used? Veldar's large eyes narrowed. But you are using our own innovations to defeat us. You took our shield technology and made it stronger. You captured our weapons and improved them. How is that different from destroying our achievements? Bo Young smiled, and for a moment she looked almost like a teacher explaining a simple concept to a confused student. We're not just using your technology, Ambassador. We're improving on it. Your energy shields were wonderful, but they were designed to stop the weapons your people knew about. We enhanced them to adapt to threats that don't exist yet. She led him to a nearby workstation where humans and aliens worked together on what looked like a starship engine. But this engine was unlike anything Veldar had ever seen. This propulsion system, Bo Young explained, uses Korthek energy manipulation techniques to power itself. But it also incorporates Zephyrian bioneural networks to make decisions, and crystallite quantum processors to calculate navigation routes. The whole thing is coordinated by human adaptive algorithms that let all the different technologies work together. Veldar stared at the device in fascination. It was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, not because it was ugly, but because it represented something his people had never imagined. Different technologies, developed by completely different species with different ways of thinking, somehow working together as a single unit. How is this possible? He whispered. A new voice joined the conversation. Because humans think differently than we do. Veldar turned to see Commander Kyung-Suk-Oh approaching them. She was older than Bo Young, with gray streaks in her black hair, and she moved with the confident stride of someone who had spent her life solving impossible problems. Commander, Veldar said with a slight bow. He had learned to respect this human during his weeks as a prisoner. Ambassador, Kyung-Suk replied, returning the bow. I heard your question, and I think I can answer it. You want to know how we missed this during your 300 years of observation? Veldar nodded eagerly. This had been puzzling him since the first human ship had appeared around Earth. You were looking for weaknesses, Kyung-Suk explained. You watched our wars and saw chaos. You observed our many different cultures and saw division. You studied our conflicts and concluded that we were too primitive and violent to be a real threat. She gestured toward the mixed teams of humans and aliens working together. But you never considered that our diversity might be a strength. You never imagined that our ability to fight each other had taught us how to understand each other. Veldar's translator struggled with the concept. In Korthek society, as in most galactic civilizations, strength came from unity, and unity meant everyone thinking the same way. The idea that different viewpoints could make a group stronger rather than weaker was almost impossible for him to grasp. Every human culture developed different solutions to the same problems, Kyung-Suk continued. When we finally united, we didn't throw away those differences. We combined them. Eastern philosophy merged with Western technology. African innovations joined with American engineering. We learned that the best solutions come from mixing different ideas together. But the Council will never accept this, Veldar said finally. My people, all our peoples, we have spent millennia believing that our way is the only correct way. Kyung-Suk's expression was gentle but firm. Ambassador, your people don't have to accept it. They just have to live with it. The galaxy is changing, whether the old council likes it or not. Around them, the work continued as humans and aliens built something new together from the ruins of the old. 2 years had passed since the Galactic Council first declared humanity a Category Crimson threat, and Fleet Admiral Ji-hoon Park stood on the bridge of the most unusual warship ever built. The UES Harmony looked like no military vessel in galactic history. Its sleek hull incorporated design elements from dozens of different alien cultures, and its weapon systems combined technologies that had never been meant to work together. The irony was not lost on Ji-hoon. This ship could probably destroy entire star systems if necessary, yet today it served as a diplomatic vessel carrying former enemies to a peace conference. Admiral, called Captain Sai Moon from her position at the communications console, we're receiving docking requests from the council representatives. They are asking permission to come aboard. Ji-hoon nodded calmly. Permission granted. Give them full military honors, they're our guests now, not our prisoners. As alien dignitaries began boarding the Harmony, Ji-hoon reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. The beings walking through his ship's corridors had once commanded fleets sent to destroy Earth. Now they came as partners in building something entirely new. The first to arrive was Veldar, the Korthek ambassador who had originally convinced the Council to classify humans as dangerous. His reptilian features showed none of the arrogance they had displayed 2 years ago. Instead, he moved with the careful respect of someone who had learned hard lessons about judging others. Behind him came Councillor Earthven of the Peaceful Collective, the crystalline being who had tried to prevent the war from starting. Her crystal body sparkled with what Ji-hoon had learned was satisfaction. She had been vindicated in her belief that peaceful solutions were possible. Other representatives followed, beings with tentacles instead of arms, creatures that looked like walking trees, and energy forms that existed inside mechanical bodies. All of them had once been enemies of humanity. Now they were something unprecedented in galactic history, true allies. Admiral Park, Veldar said as he approached, speaking in heavily accented but clear Korean, "It is good to see you again under better circumstances." Ambassador Veldar, Ji-hoon replied with a slight bow, "Welcome aboard the Harmony. I trust your journey was comfortable." "Very much so," the Korthek replied. "I wanted to update you on the progress in our sector. The integration of our defensive technologies with your adaptive systems has reduced piracy attacks by 78%. Our merchant ships can now travel safely through regions that were too dangerous just months ago." This was the pattern that had emerged across the galaxy. Human technology didn't replace alien innovations, it enhanced them. Korthek shields became stronger when combined with human adaptation algorithms. Zephyrian biotechnology became more versatile when guided by human engineering principles. Every species discovered that their greatest achievements could become even greater when shared with others. "That's excellent news," Ji-hoon said sincerely. "How are the joint research projects developing?" Councillor Earthven's crystal body chimed like wind bells as she joined the conversation. "Beyond all our expectations, Admiral. The medical advances we have achieved by combining human adaptability research with our regenerative techniques have already saved millions of lives across 17 different species." She gestured with one sparkling appendage toward a data pad displaying statistical information. "Diseases that have plagued our peoples for millennia are being cured using hybrid treatments that no single species could have developed alone." As more representatives arrived, they moved toward the ship's main conference room. But this was not the same kind of meeting that had once taken place in the old council chambers. There were no threats here, no demands for territory or resources. Instead, the agenda focused on exploration missions to uncharted regions of the galaxy, shared research projects, and mutual aid agreements between species that had been enemies just years before. "Before we conclude today's session," Ji-hoon said as the formal meetings wound down, "I want to address one final matter. The establishment of the First Contact Protocol." The room fell silent as representatives from dozens of species considered the implications of this new law. "The protocol is simple," Ji-hoon continued. "No species may be classified as hostile or dangerous without first establishing diplomatic communication and cultural exchange. No military action may be taken against any newly discovered civilization without at least one full year of peaceful contact attempts." Veldar raised one clawed hand. "And if a species proves genuinely hostile during that contact period? Then we deal with them together," Ji-hoon replied. "As partners, not as individual species protecting only their own interests." The vote was unanimous. Every representative agreed that the galaxy would never again make the mistake of judging the unknown as dangerous simply because it was different. As the meeting concluded and representatives began preparing to return to their ships, Veldar approached Ji-hoon one final time. "Admiral," the Korthek said quietly, "I have been thinking about something for many months now." "What's that, Ambassador?" Veldar's large golden eyes showed something that might have been embarrassment. "When we classified your species as Category Crimson, we were right about one thing. Humanity truly is the most dangerous species we have ever encountered." Ji-hoon raised an eyebrow, unsure whether this was meant as an insult or a compliment. "You are dangerous to ignorance," Veldar explained. "You are dangerous to prejudice and fear. You are dangerous to the old ways of thinking that kept us all separated and suspicious of each other." The ambassador gestured toward the mixed crews of humans and aliens working together throughout the ship. "You have shown us that our greatest enemy was never each other. Our real enemy was our unwillingness to truly understand each other." Ji-hoon smiled, the expression reaching his eyes. "You know, Ambassador, I think that's the nicest compliment anyone has ever given our species. We've always been better at making friends than making enemies." He paused, then added with gentle humor, You just gave us no choice about the order we had to do it in. As the Harmony continued its journey through space, carrying representatives of dozens of species who now worked together instead of fighting each other, the galaxy had truly become a different place. The category Crimson classification had been humanity's introduction to galactic politics. But it had also been the catalyst for something beautiful, the first truly cooperative civilization in known history.